Make sure the sound is coming through. Okay. Make sure the sound is coming through. All right, cuz Salaki about that. Salaki about that. Everybody can hear me too up now? Everybody hear me too up? All right, mention in the comments. Let me know if the sound is too up. Well, Shalom, sis, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? All right. All right, Con. Everybody can hear me. All right. You can go ahead and put that slide back up. All right. Salaki about that, everybody. All right. Once again, I am Officer of 1,000 Yahweh. We are this the Atlanta School. This the Monday Night History class. And we are the ISUPK out of 1 West 125th Street out of in Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. All right. Can you turn that headphones down back there, Baba Gasha? Mom, sorry, you hear me? Can you turn the headphones down back there? Yeah, I'm hearing myself as an echo. Drive me crazy. All right, let's get to it. Okay. All right. This is the origin of the Jewish mob. All right. So when we get to this, break it down. This is like late 1800s in America, right? There, we just got done with the Civil War. A lot of the different countries, the different states and other places, it's time for a lot of innovation that's going on, right? The Civil War is done. They destroyed, the countries up, right? They destroyed the whole country's messed up, right? So now, for now, they just dump a bunch of immigrants over. So this is Irish, Italian, and Jewish immigrants. All right. So and then they just put them all into. A lot of them just went to New York City. All right. So and this is where, anytime you put, a bunch of people in one area, crime is going to start pursuing because there's only a certain amount of resources. Plus, they were going, these are devils anyway. So especially you put devils in places that there's not as many resources, they're going to, of course, start trying to oppress the whole neighborhood. All right. So, of course, there was the Pale. These Jewish people came from the Pale of Settlement. All right. And that's the last time I taught. This was basically a place where they would go sit at. They would have all of the Jewish people there, and they kind of kept them away from everybody else. All right. All right, Mama Sar, can you take it down for me? Can you take it? Can you go to the next slide for me? You don't know how to do the next slide? Nah. So I don't know where the mouse is from here. Yeah, this tap is clear. There you go. All right. So we're going to the origins and causes. All right. Okay, let's go. All right. Now you see the appeal of settlement, exclusion as economic strategy, because they don't want to talk about it. You can't hardly. It's hard to find information on this, but essentially, they kept a lot of these other devils from being in society as they were, because they basically would get in and start trying to take all of the money from everywhere, right? So and they've done this historically over time. So they would get them into place. They say y'all got to just be on your own. So that's what the appeal of settlement was. So the official restrictions created by Imperial Russia to confine Jews to Western borderlands. So they confined them over there and said, y'all stay over here and do what y'all do over there. Barred from land ownership, guilds, and universities. They couldn't go to school. They kept them from going to all these different places. So, and they excluded from formal banking and legal professions, because whenever they got in these places, they would go and start oppressing everybody in that country. All right. Economic survival, smuggling goods across borders to bypass tariffs. So they will start smuggling all these things across. And then informal lending networks to replace banks, and black level trade in restricted commodities. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they would do pretty much whatever they had to do to make some money, right? So when you see, when they put black people, the real Jews, in situation, they criminalize you and say that you belong in prison. You commit all of the crimes. They were committing crimes at this time. They didn't talk about white on white violence. They didn't talk about when all of the gang members was killing everybody. They don't call that white on white violence, right? But the moment something happened with you, now it's black on black violence. You see that, right? You never heard of white on white violence, right? It wasn't even gang violence at that time. You get what I'm saying? So now, when all this stuff happened, now when like something happens to black people, now it's a hashtag or whatever. It starts to become more prompt. They want to talk about it. Anything that come against black people, try to say why they in their poverty. They don't have the empathy to see how other people have. They are the same empathy when it comes to black people as they do for other white people. So when they go through, just like when it was the cocaine and the crack, when they had people that was going through, dealing with crack cocaine, couldn't get off of it. It was the war on drugs, and of course, I've seen that you saw that. Now it's just now all of these now the devils is all addicted to these drugs. Now is we got to help them. It's the opium epidemic now. It's a whole, now they're trying to get prescription medicine for people that's on drugs. None different than crack. So now they want to go help those people. When those black people, we just want to shun them, right? And say this is why you can't, we don't give you jobs. That's why we don't, we give you what we give you, because now you all on drugs, all right? So then you got pogroms. There's a state-sanctioned violence drove mass immigration, bringing these survival skills to America. So they want to say survival skills. No, they brought they criminology over here. They wanted to be criminals over there. They brought all of that to America, right? All right. Let me ask you: can crime be a rational response to legal exclusion? I think it only can be a national response if you a devil. If your skin is pale natured, that's when it can be a rational response. But if you black, it can't be a rational response, right? So points to consider: legal economic participation blocked. They blocked us from all these They blocked black people from economic participation, right? They had red line zones. I'm sure you heard of red lines, right? Where they would basically said, um, these areas you can't own homes, and if you tried to, they would say, you're not in the right district, you're a price. Or if they made it that you can buy it, they would give you significantly higher interest rates. All of these things, We deal with this for 400 years. They deal with it for a little while. Now they ain't mad, right? State protection, absent or hostile. We didn't have no protection. Black people had no protection. Informal networks as survival. We had to do the same thing in criminal culture versus criminalized survival. So, but you see, they want to have an argument for them about it, right? To say, they were just trying to survive. All right, let's go ahead. Immigration and urban survival. Mass migration. Over 2 million Jews fled Eastern Europe to America. Density. Lower East Side became the most crowded place on earth. About 500,000 per square mile. That's a lot of damn people. That's a lot of damn people. 500,000 per square mile. That's a lot of people. They just dumped them in New York. So survival meant sweatshops, 16-hour days, and poverty. That's the labor exploitation. Early gangs formed for protection against rival ethnic groups as economic and as economic resistance. All right. Early Jewish gangs were less about organized crime and more about neighborhood defense and economic survival in a hostile environment. So now they come to America, now they consider this a hostile environment. All right. So now, criminal structure comparison. You can see between the Jewish mob, Italian mob, and the Irish mob. All right. The structure, business oriented, flexible networks, expertise, financial and logistical mastery, trajectory, early transition to legitimate businesses, culture, less violent, more corporate. The Italian mob, structure is hierarchical, family based, expertise, territorial, control and enforcement, trajectory, longer persistence in traditional crime, culture, omerta code, blood loyalty, Irish gangs, structures, political machine, integration, expertise, police and municipal corruption, trajectory, transition through political power, culture, Tammany Hall connections. All right. So, with this being said, they try to make the Jewish man sound like he went early into legitimate business, right? They don't tell you that a lot of these businesses that he went into were illegal, right? Like these places were not legal like that. Or they had to go somewhere where it might have been illegal in other states, and they did like Vegas. You can't really gamble in a lot of places, but he went and made Vegas at the time before all of the crackdowns on gambling and everything like that. Oh God! So how do I put it? Like I said, they try to make a good case for him, but the situation is they were into crime. They like doing a crime. You think they're not doing crimes anymore because they went into a legitimate business? You think they stopped doing crimes? All right, come on now. This is the devil. He's gonna do crimes. He just don't get charged for it. That's the difference. He don't go to jail for it. All right. Rise of Jewish organized crime. That's part 2. Prohibition transformed street gangs into national criminal enterprises. Prohibition. It's the prohibition era. Oh, pre-prohibition gangs. You had the Yiddish Black Hand. Early extortion rings targeting Jewish merchants mimicked the Italian Black Hand tactics, but operated within the immigrant community. Protection rackets. Businesses pay for security against rival gangs. This evolved into a steady revenue stream, functioning like informal insurance. So now you see the insurance is coming on, right? Dominated the Lower East Side with 1,200 members at peak. This is the Monk Eastman gang. Controlled territory through sheer force before political crackdowns. So now they had people that was doing some dirt. That's what they did. But political crackdown started getting on everybody around the 1940s to 60s, and it really got bad after JFK got in. RFK went after the mafia hard. So after that, they pretty much dwindled off. About after the 80s, it was pretty much over with. Formed a pragmatic alliance with Italian gang. It's an early corporation. Formed pragmatic alliances with Italian gangs early on. Prioritized profit over ethnic rivalry, setting the stage for the syndicate. Unlike unhierarchical Italian families, Jewish gangs were less structured and more business oriented from the start. So they did everything the business wise. They went everything business wise. So Irish, they had like a family. Same with the Italians. It's like we family, mi familia. You know what I mean? They were on that. But Jewish men, they were just like, nah, give me the money. Like it's like a joke saying about people that Jewish, they always real greedy and money hungry. And that just shows you that's what they was all about. And it had nothing to do with family. All right. Prohibition explosion. The Volstead Act created a 3 billion annual black market. Jewish criminals dominated its logistics. So they might have not been the ones selling it, but they sure enough was moving it. They was moving it all around logistically. Distribution networks leverage existing smuggling routes from the Pale of Settlement experience. So they used those same smuggling routes on the Pale of Settlement that they came from. Finance, access to capital through informal lending networks to fund shipments. Logistics, coordination of complex supply chains from Canada, Caribbean, and Europe. All right. So they developed all of these different prohibitions. And here's the thing that, let me ask you, Miles, so what you think? How you think they was able to get all these connections to do these things? How you think they was able to get these connections?
You already have people in the position.
True, that's one way. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But how did they get those people there?
I would say through violence
Not necessarily.
on payday way in.
I'll break it down for you. You see, when they came into America, they didn't just come into America. They would go to Canada. They went to Mexico. Remember the lady. Remember the lady that that's the president of Mexico.
Oh,
He Jewish on both sides.
oh wow.
How you gonna be the president of Mexico and you a whole nother race? That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
Right.
A whole nother damn race and you the president. You ain't even Mexican. How you gonna be the president over Mexico and you ain't Mexican? Now that should be like a conflict of interest, right? That's a straight conflict of interest. Let me go be the president of India. Just let me just go over there and live there a little while and let me be the president. I understand how to be Indian, right? But she know what she doing. A lot they don't talk about it. It's been kind of hidden, but she helping the cartels out there. They keep on growing because you know why? It is all a Jewish network. It's all a Jewish network. They get funding from people like the Rothschilds, get the money, and they funnel in all of the drugs to go into all these different countries. Why would they want to put in all these drugs in all the different countries? Do you know why? Hmm?
That's money.
Yeah, it's money.
Control the that's their way to control the economy.
To some degree, but no. The reason why they wanted to do that is basically if you keep, because remember last time I talked too, we talked about feminism, right?
Okay.
If you make people always, especially because the biggest feminists, the biggest what they want to call woke people
Right.
is white women. How the hell are they a minority? They're the majority population because there's always more women than men. There's always a slightly more um, women than it is men on pretty much all, unless you do something to try to change it. Like I know in China they was getting rid of all of the boys, I think, or they wasn't having no girls or something like that. But most of the time, there's usually in most places always slightly more women than it is men, right? Mm, let me see. So, like I said, they say that they're the minority. So how are they the minority? They the majority population in the country.
Right.
So you have your women go against your men. That's what we learned in feminism. Once you start that, you start having drugs get pumped in, and now you start re-educating people. And then if somebody say anything different, you call them anti-Semitic. Get rid of them. Get them off the internet. Get them off the TV. Once they start saying something, hey, this the truth I found out. Who truth? This ain't my truth. That's your truth. You had heard that before. Mm-hmm. Thought it sound familiar, right? All right. Bootlegging supply chain. See, pioneer large scale liquor importation and financing. This is Arnold Rothstein, Lansky and Siegel built distribution networks across the East Coast. Um, Waxy Gordon controlled the Philadelphia New York corridor. Infrastructure and assets. Canadian whiskey and Caribbean rum imports, warehouse networks for storage, trucking fleets for distribution. So the Jewish mob dominance wasn't about muscle; it was about business acumen and supply chain control. So they want to act as though they were involved,
Right.
especially Meyer Lansky. He was put as the how do you say? They say he was the accountant of the mob. How is he the accountant? It says right here he built distribution networks. What does that mean? That means he the boss.
Okay.
He is the real boss of the mob, Meyer Lansky. He was the real boss of the mob. He told them what to do. If the person that's distributing, he over you, right?
Right.
He tell you what to do. He got all the product.
Okay.
Since he your accountant, and you got to go get the drugs from this distribution. That don't even make sense, right?
That's right. Slovakia, wasn't he the isn't he the one he started what's that Murder Inc.
Yeah, he was part of that. With Lucky Luciano, I believe. He was part of that too. He probably was the real starter of it, but a lot of times they get kind of like because they don't want they usually aren't very the one thing that made the Jewish people that made them not get caught as bad is because they weren't really flashy.
Right.
They were just wanted to take their money and go. They wanted the money. They didn't want it. They didn't necessarily want the status.
Right. Okay.
So that's it. Everybody else kind of want the status and want to look good. They didn't really care about looking. They just want the status. They just wanted money. All right. Power structure and violence. From street gangs to corporate crime, the architects of modern organized crime. Now, don't think they weren't doing criminal in they businesses. They was doing criminality. It was just but criminality that you do in the they know the white collar crime they call it, right? White collar crime don't give you as much time.
Right.
You could drain somebody's whole life savings, several people's life savings, had them living on the street, and they basically die from starvation or whatever else, and you still won't get charged more than a couple years for fraud, right?
Wow.
You get more in trouble for selling them drugs than you do for taking all their money, for scamming them out of their money. Ain't that crazy?
Oh God. Wow.
Meyer Lansky right here. They called him the mob's accountant. He was born in the Pale of Settlement, right? Meyer Lansky. His modus operandi, his MO, financial mastermind, created created money laundering systems and offshore banking networks. So he laundered all of the money, cleaned all, that's what I say, he cleaned all that money, and he had offshore banking accounts. How do you know to get those offshore banking accounts? Jewish people already had the Rothschilds. They was already famous in here.
Right.
You think the Rothschilds didn't help their buddies?
Oh God, they did.
Of course. Sure they did, right? Got them on point, got them where their money need to be at. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what happens with this money? What happens with dirty money? Where does dirty money go? Where does dirty money go?
Dirty money.
Especially if it's in like an organization or it's like a country or something. Where does dirty money go to?
I always know dirty money go to like politics, uh,
Mm-hmm.
police.
No, you want it. Doc, dirty money has to go to dirty institutions, the dirty people, right?
Oh God.
So now they take that dirty money. You ain't gotta clean it off. You just go send it to somebody else. You go send it to, like you said, that politician. All of a sudden, he go open up his trunk, and he got a stack of hundreds in there. Dirty money goes there, right? Dirty money also goes into planning and operating a clandestine operation. Okay,
Right. Oh God.
which is uh, such thing as spy work. Anything you're doing as a CIA agent that does those types of things, they put that money in there, right? You got to remember the Rothschilds. They doing off the books things. Everybody else doing off the books, right? They doing these things off the books. That's why at this time also, the first version of the CIA is formed, which is called the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. That's what it's called, OSS. This starts up around this time. That's where a lot of that money can go to because Meyer Lansky can have those people do whatever he wants them to do. He can have them go and take over this city, and he knows he wants to get such and such that's going to make him billions of dollars. He can go have the CIA go there and upset that country, make it so that country is pretty much at war with each other. This is what the
Right.
CIA is for: is to go in, make a country hate, split a country apart or whatever. Once they start hating on each other, let a revolution start. You arm the people on your side that you want. That's going to go with your situation. That's why they armed up Fidel Castro. They wanted Fidel Castro because oh wait, I might have to hold this off because I think we're gonna get into this a little bit. I'm gonna get into that too. My bad, Salaki. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. All right. So we create all these money laundering, right? Gambling empires, control operations in Florida, Cuba. Wonder why it's in Cuba and Las Vegas. National Crime Syndicate, founded with Lucky Luciano, the first inter-ethnic crime federation. Lansky represents the corporation of organized crime, transforming street violence into financial systems. All right. Louis Lepke Buchalter, right? Dominated New York's garment district. So got into the clothes. They got into the drugs, entertainment, and clothes. So they're making garments, right? Control unions, factory owners, and trucking fleets. All right. Why you want to control a union? Hmm? Anybody know one reason why you want to control the union? Give me like one reason. Come on, y'all. Y'all know I like interactive class. There you go, the brother on it. You get control of the working class. That's what you do. You get control of the working class. Guess what you have? That's the silent majority. Okay. Now, if you get to talk about the unions, everybody's on your side, especially when you want to go do something political.
Right.
You get the control of the working class. The working class is where all of the billionaires make their money. They make their money from the working class.
Right.
All right. And then two, another reason is it's a good way to launder some money too. Put it in there, get some money, and then it can you can put it in some politicians' hands, however you want to do it. All right. And then there's another one say right here, modus operandi, union manipulation, install corrupt leaders to skim dues. Get some money from that. Strike threats, extorted factory owners for protection. All right. So the brother was right, but there's another part. That brother, see, he was thinking of the more sinister work, the influence way. This is the direct, and this is the direct. This is like the leverage way they had it. They can say we're gonna go on strike, and like the brother said, this he had control of working class. You would tell them to say, hey, we're gonna go on strike. That would, a strike can cripple a business, especially at this time.
Right.
They didn't have computers, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have AI. They ain't had none of that stuff to replace people. So if everybody start working, they losing, and they can lose millions of dollars, in current money, right? He did sweetheart contracts, took bribes to allow lower wages. So with those people he had already corrupted, they took bribes so that they can allow lower wages. So when they really need to pay people, he would get them in and say, hey, well, it's a union job. Get them in there, and he would have them get lower wages from any, than they would going somewhere else or another place. He was the head of Murder Inc. operations. Murder Inc. was a organization set up where they wanted to have like rules on who gets killed and all of that, so they wouldn't have a bunch of murders all over the place. All right.
Right.
So they set up Murder Inc. They would primarily, kill, other, organized crime members. All right. Distinction. the only major mob boss ever executed by the state. Sing Sing. He got he got he got the electric chair. Most High in Christ. Labor unions became crime power centers, providing steady income, political influence, and legitimate fronts. So you see what that is. That's why they pushed a bunch of labor unions, especially up north. Like they did it real big in like the Midwest, like the Chicago's, the Detroit's, Milwaukee's, Minnesota. They did a lot of that there. Murder Inc. All right, a centralized service for the National Crime Syndicate. The command structure was Lepke, Buchalter, and Albert Anastasia. So this was like a mix between Jewish and Italians. All right. So the centralized service for the National Crime Syndicate. Hits were approved by the board and assigned to anonymous killers to prevent gang wars. So if you stepped out of place, did something you weren't supposed to do, they'll go holler at, Murder Inc. And once they get the go ahead, they gonna take you out.
Right.
In the story, you got here. All right. It collapsed when Abe, Kid Twist, Relish turned informant, provided testimony that sent many to the electric chair. Do you know how many people they estimated that they killed? Murder Inc. How many murders they did?
Mm. 300.
More than that.
Ooh. So I said about and what 1,000 first.
Let's get close to 1,000, between 500 to 1,000. It's a lot of bodies.
Well,
Legitimization and expansion from criminal enterprise to corporate empires. Vegas, entertainment in Cuba. Las Vegas gambling. First luxury casino hotel on the strip. 6 million construction, funded mostly by mob money. Lulansky. The cost. Siegel murdered in 1947 for cost overruns and suspected skimming. So this is the real Beanie Siegel. All right. He was murdered in 1947 for being a gritty bastard. Inter-ethnic alliances, Jewish financial backing, and Italian operational muscle, plus political corruption. Legitimacy. Casinos provided massive cash flow and perfect money laundering. So they took that money they got, started making some casinos. So now with that, you got a lot of people that always want to throw away money. And you got to think like the thing that's unique about a casino is you don't really have to provide a service to get money. Like a business, you got to provide a service or a product. A casino, what are you really getting? Nothing.
no, come.
You're getting absolutely nothing. I guess you're having a little fun. I know you're having fun only when you're getting money, but most times you're going to lose money. So I don't know how fun it is, right?
Come.
Skimming, reporting lower revenue to avoid taxes while subtracted unreported cash straight directly to the mob bosses. Entertainment industry ties, venues, nightclubs, owned operated clubs in NYC, Miami, and Vegas. Theater circuits, investments in Broadway and touring productions. Gatekeepers, booking agencies, control talent access to venues. MCA, early power structure had mob connections. Stagehands Union, control venue operations, musicians unions, control who could perform, influence, and total ownership. The mob controlled choke points, unions, and booking rather than owning the entire industry. So you see that they always get in between some things. They want to be the brokers in between. So they didn't have to own all these different companies. They just want to get in between the people that own it, and they just want to get money out. Just look at BlackRock. What do you know? Anybody know what BlackRock is? You know what BlackRock is, outside?
Black Rock. Oh, Slocky, was that where they was trying to take the so-called Native American Indians land
Mm-mm.
to build
No, I'll tell you. BlackRock is a company. I forget a technical term, but basically what they do is they're like an investment firm. So like what they do is, um, like you ever heard of the S&P 500? They make some of those lists. So people when they go and invest in certain companies, they got to go through them. So what they'll do is, say it's a block that you can own. They take thousands of people income and then say they could buy a block of 25% of a company. They'll go get the bigger block. Do you know why that's a good thing to do? You know why? Well, for one, they probably couldn't come up. You don't have to come up with no money. That's the first thing why they did that. But here's what they do, because like once you open up that type of company, all you gotta do is sell it to people, and then once they buy it, say somebody gave you $1,000, right?
Right.
You now every day you had 10 people give you $2,000, right? Now you go and take their money, you go buy a bigger block of that company. When you go buy a bigger block than you would have with your own money, you know what happens when you get a big block of a company? You're now partly control of that company. So now if you're a major shareholder of that company, then now when they go and make votes on different decisions, you're now there. You get now for basically without having money invested into a company, you just now took everybody else's money and now you just said, now I get to control this company now.
Right.
Like I said, they get into the choke points of different things. So now they get to control all the different stuff.
Majority shareholder.
Yep, majority shareholder. See, like if you vote for something, they put it to the amount of how much stock you own.
Right.
So if you vote for something, your vote only counts for the percentage of that stock you own. But if they can own 25%, only invested, less than 1%, but that's everybody else's money, right? It's a lot. Back to killing. So it's everybody else's money. So you basically took everybody else's money, went to a company, invested in it, and got control of that company and got control of their money. See what I'm saying? Cuba and Havana. All right. Time is 8:22. The offshore empire. Lansky's vision. Create the Monte Carlo of the Caribbean, a legal gambling sanctuary. Key assets: the Hotel Nacional and a 14 million Riviera. Lansky's masterpiece. So they wanted to build some hotels. So they wanted to build hotels so that you could go to these places, and they built casinos there so you can lose all your money without having to give you nothing.
Right.
All right. The collapse, 1959. Fidel Castro's revolutionaries take Havana. Mobs destroy slot machines and loot casinos. Total loss, casino nationalized. Millions in assets vanished overnight. Consequences, loss of the offshore base forced the mob to retreat to domestic operations to Vegas. So when this happened, see, that's why Do you know why we had that issue with Castro? Y'all see why we had issue with Castro? Let me break it down for you. We had issue with Castro because first he was a good guy because he went along with the mob and all their political connections. Right. So whatever the politicians tell you is good people, they only tell you they're good people because they want something from you.
Right.
So they said, okay, these are good people here, right? So Fidel Castro knew what they were trying to do. And he said, yeah, I play with y'all. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm with y'all. I'm with y'all. The moment he got in office, he pulled out the reverse Uno card. It said, psych. He kicked all they behinds out the casinos. He didn't want them in his country like that.
Right.
So, you know what they do? They use their political power, which they've gotten in all of that different places, and they already got ties into the OSS or the CIA. Let's put together some mess. Let's put together something. So, and then they already knew that now here goes something that's a little harder to find, but I'm gonna tell y'all this. All right. This was the Bay of Pigs. The Bay of Pigs did not work. It was an embarrassment to John F. Kennedy, right? But why was an embarrassment to John F. Kennedy?
Czechoslovakia. If I recall correctly, that was the U.S. troops. They tried to storm Cuba,
and
it was a failed attempt.
Yep.
Got pushed back.
They got pushed back because here's two things that they wanted, right? They wanted the war to happen because what they were doing was they were taking those weapons and they were shipping them off to Israel because Israel was going through war at the same time. Over there were maybe, I don't know if it was the Palestinians, but they was fighting as well. Okay. So they wanted to ship the weapons over there. So they always want, if you notice, like October 7th happened after Ukraine.
Right.
Once Ukraine started up this war because they knew once they start up, the war engine, they get to subvert all of those supplies over to them so they can go fight their war because they go consider themselves an ally to the United States when they when they really is just using the whole country is like a battery pack. We keep them alive over there.
Right.
All right. Let's see here. To Batista, dictator and silent partner, provided protection and licenses in exchange for massive kickbacks. So just so the dictator that was there before Castro, he took all the kickbacks so they can keep having the stuff, all of the casinos in Cuba. January 1st, 1959, Fidel Castro's revolutionaries take Havana. Mobs destroy slot machines and loot casinos. Total loss. Casinos nationalized. Millions in assets vanished overnight. Consequence, loss of the offshore base forced the mob to retreat to domestic operations. And that was in Vegas. So now when they lost Cuba like that, they had to go to Vegas. Start putting all of their stuff going on in Vegas. All right. Here goes some more. Israel, decline and legacy. From crime to corporations, assimilation, prosecution, and transformation. 1960s to the 80s. All right. So like I ain't click on it yet. Finance and Israel's formation. So who's up?
Well, he's here for school, Monday we got the pantry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna see if I can give her some stuff.
All right, do your thing, Slack. Go ahead. Do your thing. All right. Context. Post-Holocaust solidarity. Even criminal figures felt a deep connection to Jewish survival after the Holocaust, driving them to support the Zionist cause. So they got money. They wanted to put it somewhere. They start helping out the other brothers from across the river, right? They start helping them out because they was taking over where the Palestinians live, kicking them out, and they was fighting back and forth. One of them, who I think it was Beanie Siegel, he's even recorded, or somebody said that he was like, "Oh, you're telling me Jews are fighting?" And he wanted to send out money to them, right? Let me see here, right? The operation, arms smuggling, move weapons just past. It's like move weapons past the British embargo to Jewish militias, fundraising, funnel illicit profits into Zionist organizations. So now they took some more of that money that was dirty, and they started throwing it to the Zionist organizations, the one that was helping to fight against the Palestinians that they took over their land. This was not official Israeli policy. The state did not direct or coordinate with organized crime. They definitely took their money, though. A profound moral complexity, criminal money, and illegal networks supporting what many viewed as a national survival. This is the decline of the Jewish mob. RICO laws. This is what destroyed all of the mafia. When they started doing them RICO charges, they pretty much killed all mafia. All right. Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act allowed prosecution of entire enterprises. So what a RICO is, how do you put it? A RICO made it because most crime, let's say if a crime is always like a pyramid, right? You got all the workers, all the real workers down at the bottom, leaders at the top, and it gets thinner as you go up, right? So what they would do is, let's say they wanted to try to get one of the maybe the middle guys a little bit, they can charge the leader with the RICO because how the crime boss has been getting away with stuff is they don't directly do it. Somebody else does it. They just told them that he should do it. But it's harder to prove that they got told to do it by this person because now it's he say, she say. So if you hit them with a RICO charge, that basically says you operating a criminal enterprise now. So now your criminal enterprise, I get to loop in whoever I want. I can put you in there. I can try to put your woman in there. I can put your kids if they doing something. I can take the whole organization down. But before you can only take down one or two people in the organization, whoever you can find guilty of something. All right. FBI surveillance, increased wiretaps, and pressure broke the code of silence. So when people didn't say nothing, no snitching, all these different, the audio, visual recordings killed that. Loss of sanctuaries. Cuba was gone, and Vegas became corporate. So there wasn't nowhere for them to go anymore, right? Vegas was all corporate. It was all corporate now. They couldn't do what they wanted to do anymore. They couldn't do the crimes they wanted to do. So now that's what killed the Jewish mob. Like internal transformation, assimilation. Second and third generations attended universities and left the family business. So now they put all their kids in the school. And so now they took the same tactics that they use during these different places and they put it into the music industry because now they got the money from doing the illicit activity. Now their son come up. Let me put him in Harvard. Let me put him in Yale, right? Put him in Yale. He come back. They go into business with taking that same techniques and same um, business matters, same way they do with doing a mob, and now they take it into to music or entertainment. That's why you see the same tactics that they use in the mob is also in music entertainment, right? Legitimate careers they went into law, real estate, finance, entertainment. So, and the thing about they went to law because law they can help defend each other when somebody else get jammed up. They can go to law and they can get them out of it. Real estate, of course, always owning homes is always a thing. Finance. So now they wanted to control the finances of the world. So now you go into finance, you set up stuff like BlackRock. Now you control they control, I believe, trillions of dollars, which is insane. They don't own none of that money. None of that is their net worth. They just control that amount through all the people investing in them, and then they control it by what companies get invested in. The Jewish mob declined faster than Italian syndicates because Jewish communities prioritized education and assimilation, creating an exit strategy for the next generation. So, legacy and takeaways. Structural legacy. The syndicate. They transformed organized crime from chaotic street gangs into a rationalized business structure. The National Crime Syndicate model prioritized profit over ethnic rivalry and violence. Economic legacy, Las Vegas. The modern Las Vegas Strip is a direct result of Jewish mob financing and vision. They built the infrastructure for what became a legitimate multi-billion-dollar entertainment industry. Psychological, sociological legacy, the latter. For the Jewish mob, crime was a means to an end. Assimilation, unlike other groups, they successfully transitioned their families into legitimate professions within one generation. From the Pale of Settlement to the Built Boardroom, a story of ruthless ambition, rapid assimilation, and the dark side of the American dream. All right. All right. Let me see here. Legacy and takeaways. Structural legacy, the syndicate. They transformed organized crime from chaotic street gangs into a rationalized business structure. The National Crime Syndicate model prioritized profit. Oh, Salaki, I already read that part. Salaki. Here you go. Key figure summary. Arnold Rothstein, Meyer Lansky, Blake C. Siegel, Lepke Bukalter, and Dutch Schultz. Only one I think we didn't talk about was the Dutch Schultz. He's a violent Bronx boss. His reckless plan to kill a prosecutor led to his own assassination by the syndicate because he was doing something he didn't have no business doing, trying to kill a prosecutor, put all the heat on them, so they went and got rid of him. They cut the cancer out basically. So Brain versus Brian, I'll leave the rest of that. While they had tough guys, the Jewish mob's unique contribution was financial, uh, architecture, money laundering, financing, and structuring the syndicate. Assimilation and exit. The Jewish mob was a one generation phenomenon. Cultural emphasis on education and legitimacy led children to become lawyers and doctors, not gangsters. All right. See the timeline. All right. Some further reading and sources. Final takeaway: the story of the Jewish mob is not just a crime story; it is a violent, accelerated version of the American dream. They were outsiders who forced their way in, built empires from nothing, and then, unlike any other group, dismantled their own criminal legacy to ensure their children could be legitimate. All right. Thank you. Any questions and discussion? Anybody done? Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any questions? Let me see. Anybody got any questions?
Sloppy, sir.
Got any questions? Huh?
Right. You know, with the hand, with the like the pigs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When that, when you say that would lead up to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I'm not sure. What was the Cuban Missile? I've heard it before. I can't recall it.
Russia.
What about it? What happened? Kind of give me a refresher about that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
The Cubans, they were dealing with the Russians, and the U.S. Basically the U.S. didn't like Cuba dealing with the Russians. They didn't like Castro dealing with Russia because they were trying to gain control. Because whoever gained control of Cuba, I think it was something about whoever gained control of Cuba and was able to set up shop in Cuba, you know, they could control pretty much majority of that area, like the Pacific or something like that, Atlantic, something like that.
What I think of it is I think honestly, what I think what it really is, um, Fidel saw that if it was controlled, like this is my opinion. I gotta look up to see if what he really if there is anything on record what he felt about it. But just strategically, I think Fidel didn't want to be controlled by America because if he was in controlled by America, he would just Cuba would have just been another state like Puerto Rico.
Right.
Because Puerto Rico is like an odd place. Like they really can't come over here, but they have to pay everything is American. Like they gotta pay American dollars. They get everything, but they're almost like they're not even really like a state. It's just like there. So they're like half citizens. They're like second and third class citizens. So like they get a chance. They're citizens, but not really. They're like how you have a wife or you have a concubine. They like the concubine. They like they there, but not really. You know, that's kind of how Cuba was, and it was just better strategically to line up with Russia because Russia would provide them with support because you gotta look at the strategic part of it. Um, okay, I asked that. He said why they don't like union today. Um, okay, what was I saying? What was I saying before that, Salakia?
Uh, that
Oh, why he wanted to go with Russia? Okay, because because here's the thing: if you ally with a powerful nation, but you're not close to them,
right,
they have to give you power to protect yourself, but they're too far away to really tell you what to do.
right,
So it's like in a way, it's almost like they bought their independence because Russia is far as hell away. It's not close at all. So it's just good to be over there because now they like, okay, now, but you gotta look at Russia. Russia is looking at it like, okay, we got an ally. It's only like how close Cuba is to America? It's like 90 miles.
right.
That's nothing. Maybe less than that. It's not far at all from America. So it's like you got to think about it. It's like you got your ops, right? You got somebody over there. It's good to have a safe house across the street from where your ops live at. You see what I'm saying? You can always keep an eye on them. And then they don't have nobody over by you. It's always good to have somebody over there. So then if you ever have to do an attack, you can always hit them right there because you close by.
Right.
That's kind of how they was looking at it. So that's why they look out for Cuba. They don't want nothing to happen in Cuba because, that takes away that person who go on the street. They won't let nothing happen to Cuba. So it's like a way you get, like I said, you get your own independence. Mm-hmm. The brother asks, why don't major corporations like unions today? Well, a lot of what we talked about, the unions were never, the unions are like political, how do I put it? Like, how you got political movements today, which it don't really do nothing for the people, but make them feel like somebody's doing something. That's what unions were like. Now there's some that are better. You know what I'm saying? I've been in a union before. It wasn't that bad, but yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't terrible, right? But the issue with unions is that they go to the corporation and they tell them what to do, and they threaten them with we're gonna go on strike.
Right.
That's just like you had employees that you hired, and now all of a sudden they want to argue with you about something. And then too, if they got a union, it gives them anytime you got people in a union, any type of way they're unified, it takes away the power and leverage to the person that needs them. See what I'm saying? Because like if one person quit, oh well. But if everybody in that whole building walk out, you just lost some millions of dollars.
Right.
That's why they don't like. That's why they don't like unions. So, but like I said, a union was never. It doesn't help people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. They're not meant. They're meant to help the person that started the union. They take them dues and give it off to the mob bosses. Even what we saw in the presentation. But that's kind of like a short reason why they don't like corporate. They don't like unions because they don't. White people don't like being told what to do. Even if it's by other white people, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to be told that they got to pay their employees more. You got any questions, Mausa? No more other questions down there?
Oh, wow. Another set, great topic.
Oh, no sweat. The water. All right. Trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I think I was talking a little about the Bay of Pigs. I'll finish that real quick and we'll wrap it up. But the Bay of Pigs, they subverted all of those weapons over to Israel so they can fight their war. So the reason why it was such an embarrassment, like this was something I believe it was from Nixon. Nixon, I believe he was the president before Kennedy, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember 100%. But the president before him signed off on it or whatever that happened. And then when Kennedy found out all of this stuff about it, and then it's also noted in certain places that RFK found out that it was his father, Jack Kennedy or Joe Kennedy, I think. He had during the time of Prohibition, that's how he made his money during Prohibition. He was part of the people ready to, when the Prohibition lifted, to throw all that alcohol into the street. He was ready for that.
Right.
But his father had went to some of the, because like I said, he was doing that, and I guess who else was doing the same thing? Mob bosses. So he had mob connections.
Right.
Remember, what's the name is Irish. JFK is Irish, I believe. Yeah, Irish.
I believe they are.
They're Irish. So, you heard about the Irish gang. They had connections in there. So when he found out about it, RFK, you got to think these are privileged white boys. Privileged white boys think the country is beautiful. got all his integrity. Man, the red, white, and blue. You know, they love the red, white, and blue. You know what I'm saying? They love that red, white, and blue. They grow up seeing that, they thinking that's what it is. And now they saying, oh, my father did some crooked mess to even get me in here. So they start going after the mob real heavy. Well, RFK did, right? Robert Kennedy started going after him real, real heavy, which led to both of their assassinations.
Right.
Because you got to think, why kill RFK? Because if you kill RFK, all you're going to do is piss off JFK.
Right. That started an investigation.
Mm-hmm. And he going to find out what happened to his brother. But if you kill JFK, RFK, we already got Johnson in the back pocket.
Right.
Because you know Johnson Jewish. They don't tell you about that. He's Jewish from his mother's side. So, and he's from an old, it's from the 1848ers. I might do a class on that sometime, but it's like an old racist, like a group they had back in the 1840s. He's part of that group back then. The 48ers, 1848ers or something like that. And, you know, once he got in, he pretty much signed whatever he gave. Like he just bent over and took it. Everything Israel wanted, he did.
Right.
Whatever they wanted, he did. So, like I said, Israel was helping out. As you can see, they was helping out from, you know, in the beginning with all of the different gang activity and corruption. They was into that from the beginning. So,
Right. Okay.
lo and behold, this is what happens. And then you got to think, then RFK, he went to go try to research what happened with his brother. Then he went to start running for office. All of a sudden, he gets shot. He gone. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how they all was playing these different games because they didn't want these people in a power position to oppose them.
Right.
So.
And Saki said, because I know one of the biggest ones was Jimmy Hoffa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't even know where he at. Like I think he went somewhere and they can't even find him.
Right. I was like, I think that was like during the 60s, I think.
I think so. He probably dead now, no matter what. But yeah, that's and he was with Teamsters, and that was where they he used to do a lot of the skimming from the unions like they did back then too. But he got about it. He got out of Dodge. All right. Any other questions? Any questions, Mama Sir?
Oh, wow. That's it, sir.
All right. Let's see what time it is. 8:51. All right, it's 12. All right. With that, pass the class over to Priest and Officer 500, Mama Sir.
ICPK security announcements. You got an ICPK started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for a new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8 through 10. Means in the Hebrew, ma'asra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord give you gets to the treasury department or teacher. Priest funds, you will offer for priests, not mandatory. Whatever amount you will like. Upcoming holy convocations. Right now, we are in the Feast of Dedication, or the Hanukkah, which started yesterday. It goes on for 8 days. Remind occupant Aqua to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headbands, and scarves. But with that, give one courtesy salute to the man of Israel. Man of Israel. Amad. Amad Shabbat. Amad. Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. And we said translated from Hebrew to English. Is Lord bless you in the name of Christ. Yahweh on top. Hands down. Give one courtesy salute to the sisters online. Man of Israel. Amad Shabbat. Amad. Barak. Yahweh Shema Al-Sam by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And we said translated from Hebrew to English is Lord watch over you in the name of Christ. Yahweh on top. Hands down. Class dismissed. Oh.